First of all, I'd like to thank Senator Sanders and Governor Schuman for their recognition of the importance of grid modernization. As we move forward, it's a key aspect and a key critical part of our infrastructure that requires investment, but also has a great opportunity for innovation. So I look forward to working with both of them as we move forward in the future for Vermont's grid division and where they're going with their strategy. I'd also like to thank President Fogel and the university. I was actually doing a little homework last night and recognized that the university is one of the most up-and-coming schools because of your work on innovation. And I recognize that, and I think that's impressive to have. I also was looking at some of your green courses and some of the offerings you had, as well as the LEED rating for your student union building. So I think that's fantastic leadership in and of itself. We will create the leaders of tomorrow by what we do through our universities and our school system. So I wanted to recognize that and thank you for your leadership there. Our office has a difficult task. We're looking at what is the future structure for the electric system? What are the investment requirements? What do we need to continue to do to make sure that our electric infrastructure is secure and reliable in the future? That we have electricity that can be provided to homes, businesses, manufacturing. And in many ways, I look at my role at the Department of Energy as exactly the recognition that was awarded to the University of Vermont and Vermont in general for its leadership. And that I want the United States to be best in class, to become an energy-conscious society. So we think about energy in what we do, the vehicles we drive, the decisions we make with respect to appliances and homes, how we recycle products. I want us to become an energy-conscious society. I want us to drive innovation. Let's think outside the box. Let's really say, how can we drive the electric system to be more responsive to consumers, to be more responsive to understanding the resources that we need to integrate? And how do we teach and develop the scientists and engineers of tomorrow? And so those are some of the things that are important to me as I move forward and try to drive a vision within the electric sector. But specifically, I'm looking at how do we manage our energy and our environmental footprint. We have some challenges coming ahead. We have to find a way to make sure that we can integrate generation, manage the energy, engage consumers, but also protect the environment. Sometimes those are conflicting objectives. So we've got to recognize it, we've got to evaluate the pros and cons and the cost implications, and really go forward to making educated decisions. How do we expand and integrate clean energy in the mix? How do we improve grid reliability, performance, and security? And how do we improve customer service? Customers have a role in the electric system, more so now than they've ever did in the past. And so we need to recognize that role, but also improve service to our customers. From a simplistic perspective, it's just reducing the outage time and duration as a service to consumers. Now, most people ask me, what is this smart grid all about? And I usually stick on my engineering hat and say, oh, it's about sensors. You can put sensors on the system, and you collect data, and you do, provide information. I now look at it as, how can we be smarter about how we utilize the system? How can we build the grid as a platform for the economy and future economies for the United States? And so what I want to do is actually be smarter about how we utilize the system. And being smarter, it means we have to take a holistic view of the system. We have to recognize our generation assets, our local resources, as well as resources that we'll take across the transmission system. We have to recognize we need a diversified energy mix. One size is not going to fit all. The security and reliability of our system is built upon diversification. Diversification is good. We need to invest in our transmission and distribution system. We also need to take a holistic look as we plan that system out, so we build the right amount of transmission that we need for today and tomorrow, that we upgrade our distribution system to be able to handle the needs of the future. So in the distribution system, it's adding more automation to the system. It's actually looking at voltage and regulation of voltage, automated switches, being able to have better outage management systems. It's also looking at how consumers can better manage their energy. So whether it's an industrial, commercial, or residential consumers, all consumers have a role to play in managing the system or helping to manage the system. So we're talking about better tools and applications for understanding energy consumption, as well as the information that would be provided to make better energy decisions. I think the Vermont Transco Energy Project is a good example, and I recognize that it is probably a significant feat to bring all 20 utilities together. Since my time in working with the department at the Department of Energy, it is a struggle to actually get utilities on the same page. And so I do appreciate the significance of that. As we move forward, there are a couple challenges I just want to recognize that we need to continue to address. We need to continue to address uncertainty with consumer behavior. We need to understand how can we best interface and dialogue with consumers. We need to look at interoperability and cybersecurity. We need to continue to educate and train operators, researchers, engineers, the future workforce of tomorrow. So briefly on consumer behavior, as we move forward, I'd like to be flexible as we move forward. As we look at rate designs, as we look at information that we're providing consumers, we're going to have to experiment. We're going to have to understand what best fits with consumers. Whether you're talking about my mother or my kids. I have a 15-year-old and a 19-year-old. I mean, they're definitely very much in the app world. My mom just make it as simple as possible and automate it as much as possible. So we're going to have to be flexible and understand what consumers need and what consumers require. Also recognize that data and information is one thing. We're going to be collecting a lot of data. How do we make that data valuable? How can we actually put that data into decision-making processes? So I would like to recognize Central Vermont Public Service and Vermont Electric Cooperative and their support in helping us do some studies of consumer behavior and really doing the hard work that's necessary so that as we move forward, whether it's rate designs or other applications, we develop the best products that should be developed for consumers. Interoperability. We're going to develop many different apps and cool things out there to integrate the system, but they got to talk to each other. So as companies are out developing the next generation products, we have to make sure that they're interoperable. NIST is working on standards so that technologies can communicate with each other. I encourage you to continue to push the interoperability of these devices. We need to think about that now as we move forward. Cybersecurity is very critical. We cannot leave that on the back burner. We have to have that as part as we develop these products and technologies. We must keep cybersecurity on the forefront. Now with education and training, new jobs that we look forward are going to rely upon continued investment in programs such as STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. These programs help ensure that we're developing the next generation workforce. In the electric sector, there's a critical shortage of workers, from the trade skills to the operators to the power engineers. We need to continue to encourage and develop skill sets in this area. We also need to drive multidisciplinary teams. If I don't beat enough people up, I'm going to continue to beat them up on multidisciplinary education. Cybersecurity incorporated in your power engineering programs. I would say even psychology a little bit as you look at consumer behavior and as we look at the future of the world. But we're going to be integrating those disciplines. So I think that's very important. So before I finish, I would like to recognize some folks. So I gave a cue there, so hopefully we can work on that. I'd like to recognize 6 Vermont high school students who conducted energy-related research projects for the Vermont State Science and Math Fair that was held at Norwich University. So first, I'd like to recognize Sam Falk from Rutland High School. His project was on insulation costs and resistance to convection and conduction. And as I reviewed, cellulose and fiberglass. I guess the one thing that I'd like to point out is what was impressive to me is he actually looked at the cost implication as he looked at the conductive and convective properties. And I think that's a future leader just in of itself. So thank you. The next person that I'd like to recognize is Carrie Gier, Northfield Middle High School. Okay, sorry. Well, actually, it was fascinating with the filters that he was putting on there. I said, there's an entrepreneur, so some entrepreneur may want to go talk to that person. The next person is Danny Hogenkamp from Rutland High School. Danny? Great. Project on Where the Wind Blows. I have to admit, it was creative that you were thinking ahead as you shored up the wind project for endurance for the cold weather in Vermont. I have to admit that most people, as they do research, their first round of expectations, they usually don't meet their expectations, but I appreciate your endurance there. And if I can now recognize Stephen Terry, Avalon Fairmont Academy, Electric Crystals. Stephen. A little bit biased on this because I'm a ceramic engineer, so I'm a materials person. So I was glad to see a project in the materials area. Most people don't recognize that the properties of materials is really at the heart of, as we do buildings, infrastructure, you look from fire and insulation to conducting elements, the copper and the transmission system. And sometimes this is overlooked, so I actually appreciate and acknowledge anybody that does the materials. The last one is Amanda Tucker from Fairhaven High School. Amanda? Amanda did a project, A Better Way for Vermont's Wind Energy. And in my mind, I have to go back. This one actually really tried to cross some disciplines here. In my mind, took a little bit of the psychology as well as the engineering and reflect some of the tough decisions that we have to make with respect to environment and cost. So the types of projects that we invest out there. So I recognize Amanda for that. Thank you. I'm just going to, I know that Garth is in here from Rutland High School, but he did a light pollution on Rutland County, and I also wanted to thank him for that. I did want to note that all these posters, there will be posters on all the projects outside. I asked folks to spend some time, talk to the students and the awardees that actually talk to them about some other projects. So thank you very much. Once again, thank you for the opportunity to be here. I look forward to working with you in the future. This is extremely important. There's a lot of excitement here, and I think it's